Hey everybody, welcome to Javo's Garage. Today we're going to be doing the spark plugs and spark plug wires on this 2006 Chrysler Town and Country. Now this particular one happens to have the 3.3 liter motor in it. However, this repair is going to be just fine for you if you have a 2001 to 2007 Grand Caravan or Town and Country with the 3.3 liter or the 3.8 liter. It's going to work for either one of you. So now in this case, as you can probably already see, I've taken the wiper motor out and I'm going to show you instructions in this video how to do it. I have learned over the years, and I've done countless plug changes on these vans, but I've learned over the years it's way easier to pull that wiper motor out, because as such now I have tons of room to be able to get back down in here and get to all my different plugs and my wires. It gives me a better chance to do the job without maybe cross-threading a spark plug or pulling out a wire wrong or doing something like that. It just makes the job go so much easier. You can leave the wiper motor in and reach around back in behind here. You have to move these hoses out of the way and fight your way to get back in there to it. I've got bigger arms, and I'll tell you what, it just scratches up your arms. You got all these retention clamps in that. I'm telling you, trust me on this one, I've done countless of these things. It's worth your time and effort. Spend 10 minutes, take that wiper motor out, give yourself the room, get in there and get the job done. You will thank Javo for it when it's all said and done. So we're going to jump right into this. Let's get this done. With our wiper motor out of the way, now you can see we have really easy access to get to all of our wires back here and our spark plugs. Once again, I understand we're adding a step or two onto the process. To me, it's more than worth that extra time because it gives me easy access to get to the wires, easy access to get to the plugs. You know, when you're having to reach and struggle to get to something, that's where at times you can have a cross-threading issue or you have a problem with the wiring. To me, it's more than worth the effort to have this, so I have easy access and I can get in there and do the job right the first time and do a really good job at that. So you can choose whether or not you want to do the motor. To me, that's the only way to go, but it'll give us some good access so you can see what we're dealing with here. Now, the next thing that's important to know is the orientation of the cylinders, because you need to know that when you connect your wires up to your coil pack that's located over here underneath your power steering reservoir. On the 3.3 liter and the 3.8 liter vans, your cylinder orientation is all your odd numbered cylinders are on the back, even numbered on the front. 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6, or maybe easier to show you be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, the reason that's important with your coil pack is on the front side of your coil pack over here, it's nice because your numbers are actually in sequence. So the very inside post of your coil pack is cylinder 2, the middle post is 4, outside pack is number 6. However, when you go to the back side, the way it's oriented is the very inside post is cylinder number 5. So that would go right here to this one. It's a short wire, it goes right here. Your middle post is cylinder number 1. So this one will go all the way out over here to your passenger outside cylinder, okay? And then your last one on here is post number 3, and it will go to your middle cylinder here on the back, okay? So it's important for you to know that. With that being said, now what we want to do is we want to pull our wires off, and then we can pull our spark plugs out so we can put in our new spark plugs. I'll take a few shots here to show you where everything lies back in there so you have an idea of where you're going to be reaching and what you need to do, and that should make the job easier for you. Let's move on to the next step. I want to throw a quick tip in here for you so that you don't get mad at your buddy Javo here. So these are factory spark plug wires, and as such, they are numbered. And you'll see, like on this one, there's a number 2 up here. This one has a number 4. On the back side of this one, it's got a number 6. So it's easy to know when I pull these wires out where they go back. That way I can actually compare this old wire with the new wire to make sure I get the right length. So I can go ahead and just pull all these out and then put them all back in as I go along. However, make sure your spark plug wires have a number or that you can see them on there, because otherwise you don't want to just go pulling everything off. What you would do in that case is just pull your boot off of your spark plug and then just set them off to the side replace your spark plugs, and then as you're doing your spark plug wires, pull them off one at a time, do a comparison, get your new one, and install it. That way you know how to compare and how to get the right length as you put them back together. In this particular case, all of our wires are numbered because these are the original wires and they're due to be replaced. So we can go ahead and remove all the wires, and then we'll remove the spark plugs. We now have all of our wires removed from the spark plugs, and so we're ready to move on to the next step. I wanted to throw in another quick tip for you here real quick, and that is when you're taking out these spark plug wires off of the spark plugs themselves, one of the things I've learned that really helps, because sometimes they'll stick on those spark plugs and you can't get them off, and that is to twist that spark plug boot like 4 or 5, 6 times, and so it loosens up on it, and then pull out on it. If you're still having issues, I know the big thing everybody likes to try and do is pull on the wire. The problem you'll get with that is then you're going to pull the wire out of the boot, and then you have a bigger problem again. And so what I have used when I have an issue like that, and I'll put a link down in the description, these here are basically for pulling hoses, quite frankly, is what they're designed. They're like a needle nose that's for a hose. And these actually fit really well around a spark plug boot. So if I have one that's really hard, I'll take this and use this, and I can grab it and then I can yank that thing out of there. And this has helped me out many a times. I wish I could give you the real technical name, it'd be more impressive for these, but they're like a needle nose pliers. They're round on the end, so it fits over a hose, so you can remove a hose. So anyway, we will move on to removing our spark plugs, and then we'll install our new spark plugs. Let's stop for a minute here and go through the parts that we need to finish up our job and what we're using here. Now, to remove the spark plugs, I just have a ratchet. I have a 5/8 inch socket that I use for that as well, and then I use a 6-inch extension. Now for me, I like to have something just to grab it when I take them out by hand and when I put them in. And actually when I put them in, I'll take this off because I want to be able to feel really well. You want to make sure you don't cross thread those things when you put them back in. You'll only do that once, and then you'll be really careful in the future when you put them back in. These here are all my old wires that I took out, so we're good there, and those are sitting there. I have my replacement wires here. I picked these up at my local Advance store. I'll put a link down below for another set of wires you could get if you don't have an Advance nearby. However, if you do, this is part number 35-6317. These have done really good for me. These are their premium wire sets, and that's what I always use. By the way, when I'm installing my wires back onto the plugs, it's always a great idea to use a dielectric grease like you see here. This is made by CRC, and what I'll do is I'll put just a little bit of a dollop inside the boot on both ends, on where it goes onto the spark plug and where it goes onto the coil. That just helps keeps moisture out, and it helps keeping your boots from sticking on there, and that way the next time you go to take them off, or if you need to do something, you can get them off easier. I'll put a link down below for this product as well. Here's our old spark plugs. I'm really happy with the fact that when I took all of these out, and I actually have them here in the order that I took them out of the motor, but they're all nice and dry. They're basically just one that has 125,000 miles and they've never been replaced, and so it's time to actually do that. Let's see here, so you can just get an idea of where they're at. So they're nice and dry, they're just worn. So we're gonna go ahead and replace those. I've tried some different brands over the years, and what's just given me the best overall result and consistent result has been the NGK V-Power spark plugs. Now the part I'm using here is LT, let's see if we can get that there for you, is LZTR5A-13. Naturally, you're going to need 6 of those. I'll put a link once again down in the description where you can buy these. I think they run about $25 for a set, and that's pretty cheap. And they've always just given me very good results. The other thing you're going to want to do when you go to put your spark plugs back in place is make sure to put just a little dab of anti-seize lubricant on there. It'll help it so when you go to remove them again. For that, I use a Permatex aluminum anti-seize lubricant, and hopefully you can see that better. Once again, I'll put a link to this down below in the description so you can get some of this stuff. I use this for all sorts of things. If you're working on stuff on your car, you need to have this around. It only comes in handy. So now that we have this done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my anti-seize on my spark plugs, and then we'll go ahead and reinstall them back into the vehicle, and then we'll put our wires back on, and you'll be done with your spark plug change. Now that we have everything all lubricated and ready to go, we're ready to reinstall our spark plugs, and I'm going to start on the back and just get those done and out of my way. When you're putting these in, all we want to do at this point is just get them hand tightened down in, and then during our next step we'll tighten them to spec in terms of torque value. All of our spark plugs are hand tightened into place now, and so now we need to torque them to spec. Torque spec on these is 13 foot-pounds on each one. So I just have my socket set up, I have my torque wrench set up at 13 foot-pounds. Let's tighten them all down. So I laid out my original spark plug wires and I set them out in terms of side of the motor. So this was number 1, 3, and 5, and then we had 2, 4, and 6. And then all I did was lay out my new spark plug wires and then sized them up so that they're in comparison. And now I have them matched up, so as I go back through, as I put my spark plugs back in, I can go back and easily line those up and replace my spark plug wires. Now normally what I do is I'll do all the spark plugs and then I'll go back and do all the wires, but I wanted you to see roughly how you'll lay them out. Sometimes your new replacement wires will be a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. Generally what I've always found is they're going to be a little bit longer. So don't forget, before you reinstall your spark plug wires, you'll just take, and your kit does come with a little bit of dielectric grease, but it's real anemic. But basically what I'll do is I'll just take mine and I'll just put it in here and just hit it with just a little dab, like so. Hopefully you can see that. Just enough so that and then when I put the boot on, I'll spin it so that we get that lubricant throughout the entire spark plug wire. So once again on this side, I'll just come in and do a little dollop there, and that one's good to go. Let's now put our spark plug wires back on. Don't forget, when you have this dielectric grease in here now, when you put it onto both your spark plug and onto your coil, give it a little bit of a twist back and forth so that way you work that dielectric grease into your boots here. Also, don't forget, on the back side of your coil here, it goes 5, 1, 3, and on the front it goes 2, 4, 6, starting from the inside. I wanted to throw in a quick tip here for y'all as you're doing this project. So as you're putting your spark plug boots on, or your wires onto your plugs and on your coil, once again, make sure you give it a twist back and forth about 4 or 5 times to work that dielectric grease in there to help. The other thing that's important is when you're pushing on your boots on either end, you're gonna feel a click when you get it on properly. So push it on until you feel a click and then give it a couple more twists to make sure you get that grease in there. So that should do it. At this point now, you've got all new spark plugs in, you got all new wires, everything's connected up to your coil, and you should be good to go. So if you watched the earlier part of the video, if you've done that, now you'll just reinstall your wiper motor. It goes back in here. Don't forget your bolts along here. You have your wiring harness over here that plugs back into your wiper motor, and put your wiper arms back in and you're good to go. Hey, if this video's been helpful for you at all, please do me a favor real quick before you leave and just hit that like button for me. If you'd like to see more repair videos on these type of vans and other vehicles that I do work on, please hit that subscribe button. We also do some other things. We got some mini bikes and go-karts and projects around the garage. We'd love to have you stick around.